All right. Hey, how's it, everybody? It is, believe it or not, it's 5 p.m. West Coast time. That is right. But instead of 3 p.m., I think it's 2 p.m. Hawaii time. It's 8 p.m. on that there East Coast and 7 p.m. for our Central Time folk. If you're in Hawaii and I got your time right, let me know because today is the day where nobody really knows what time it is. Is it 4 p.m.? Is it 5 p.m.? My clock says it's 5. You guys are here. So I'm going to say it is 5 p.m. Made it barely by the skin of my teeth, fams. I had to get my car today. I've got my car. We'll talk about that. But before we talk about all those things, I want to say, hey, Lady Misty. Hey, Darlene. How's it going? Shock into house. And that's right. That's right. I'm waiting. I'm waiting until the very last second to say hello to Ha I'm Normal. That is right. I know. It's not Ha I'm Normal. It's, let's see here. What is it? Croway or something like that. Either way, you were the second one, not the first, but that's okay. We'll pretend you were the first today. It's all good. You were so close to being first in the stream. No worries. Devin's here as well, in case I didn't say hi to Devin. And it's only 2 p.m. in Hawaii. Didn't I say 2 p.m. or did I say 4? I know it's not 4. So it's 2 p.m. in Hawaii. Because normally it would be 3 p.m. Right. See? Here we go. Nobody knows what the flying fork time it is at all. Nope, no one knows. Not even me. Not even you. You think you know what time it is? You probably don't. That's how it works. That's how it works. And so there we go. Yeah, no, I don't even know what I said, actually, is what it boils down to. So, hey, Terry in Scotland. I don't know what time it is in Scotland. That much I do know for certain. But we have got all sorts of folks coming on in. So hello, how's it? Let's get this party started. Boop. All right, 9:04 a.m. in Japan. I definitely would never have guessed that. I had no idea that you were in Japan, so awesome, but I had no idea what time it would be in Japan because, as far as I know, Japan may or may not do daylight savings time. And as far as I know, if they do it, they probably don't do it on the same time frame and schedule that the United States does it because we decided to do our own thing back in the day when Bush and Cheney were presidents. And yeah, that's right. I said that when Bush and Cheney were presidents. They decided as part of our energy policy that we would expand our daylight savings time. Personally, I would rather we just stay on daylight savings time all year round. I prefer the hours of sunlight that daylight savings time has. Why we go back to standard time, I do not know. Everybody says that they hate daylight savings time, but I actually think they don't hate daylight savings time. They hate switching, and what they really hate is the standard time, not the savings time. But that just could be me and my Northern Hemisphere ways. Bacola T in the house saying a quick howdy from the high seas. And exactly, I hate the switch and the less sleep, precisely. Keep it on one. And if we're going to keep it on one, keep it on the savings time. It stays later at night, sure, or stays lighter late at night. Sure, the mornings are kind of dark, but who cares? Who cares? I mean, the mornings are dark anyway. So there we go. And it's 1 a.m. in Germany, according to Terry in Scotland. So I'm going to let Terry and Shock decide to argue that one out. And speaking of Bacola T, who can't stay, have a fantastic week, crew, she says to all of us. Speaking of Bacola T, she sent us, of course, she sent us more pictures of her adventures on the high seas. And let's see here. Uh, my favorite set of pictures that she sent was this set of pictures. She wasn't on the boat. I guess this was an off boat class, but she got off the boat and then she took a mixology class. And so this was her classroom right there. All these things she got to learn to make. I guess it was a tequila class. And there she is looking over her shoulder like a little Sassy Pants bartender. That's right. And I'm going to assume that this wasn't a cocktail. I'm going to assume this was guacamole. Now, I don't know what I'm talking about here. And if Picola T is here, she can confirm or deny that that was guacamole. But that looked to me more like guacamole than a cocktail. And according to Picola T, when she got back to that big old boat right there, she was really happy that somebody else was going to be driving it because boy, oh boy, she was in no condition to be sailing the high seas because she was already a little bit high, as it were. That's exactly it. Kenny from the Cove coming on in. Hey, Kenny, we're looking at little pictures that Picola T sent us. That there's Picola T right there. And she was in Belize, Mexico, learning how to make tequila cocktails and guacamole. I mean, I continue to make my case. That's not a cocktail. That's a guacamole. That's a cocktail. And it looks like that pink grapefruit thing in the back, also a cocktail. I'm not sure what cocktail that is. If Picola T was here, she'd let us know, but she had to only come in for a quick minute. And so that's just one part of the adventures of Picola T. And Darlene, you were just wondering if she was walking under her own power after that class. Yeah, it sounds like she maybe looked like she had her sea legs on when she was still on land. You know, the kind that you don't really walk real straight because you're used to the sway of the ship. Yeah, I think she might have had her sea legs on her land legs. And exactly, Tequila Tea, that's it, says Shock. And, uh-oh, wait, hold on. It's just after 7 p.m., in Wisconsin, not 8 p.m.? Oh, right. Yeah, that much I knew. And then Kenny says, you just sent me a historic photo in Facebook Messenger. Well, I do not have Facebook open, so I'm not going to be able to get that, at least not at the moment. But I did want to touch base on something that we talked about last week with Picola T. All right, so you guys, let's see here. We've got the mixology. All right, here we go. And and Crow is saying it's 0 o'clock in the world. Let's just say that is the time. I agree. That is, yes, 0. And Shock coming in with background music is not background music. And, let's see here. You have not background music either, number 2. 3, if I include the text. Don't know what you mean by include the text, so I'm not going to pay attention to that part, I guess. And let's see here. Hey, Felicia, so good to see you. And Puzzy Cat is coming in. It's Puzzy Cat o'clock. That's right. And Terry's saying it's Miller time. That's right. Well, I'm still having some coffees. Some coffee's what I'm having. Because you see, I woke up really late, even though I thought it was not late. And I had to go down. I had to rush down to Tacoma to pick up my car. And, oh, you've messaged me 3 times about it? Twice in stream and 1 text message? Well, I didn't see it in the stream. I do see it in my text messages now, but I don't think the text message came through until I picked up my phone. I'm not nearly as wired in as other fancy pants people on the interwebs like Andy Boomatai, but yeah, it is your job to nag me, exactly, and sometimes, and it's not nagging. Here's the deal. It's not nagging if I didn't hear you the first 8 times. So it's never, if it's the first time I hear you, even if it's the 10th time you told me, that's still not a nag. And Puzzy Cat, burned my clutch. Yes, I did burn my clutch. In fact, I am so proud of myself. whether or not proud is the word we want to use here, I'm not sure, but I'm using the word proud. So, not once, but twice in my life now, 2 times, have I had mechanics tell me when I'm going to get my clutch fixed, and then the clutch is in their hands, and they take the clutch apart and they look at it. And then they say to me, I don't know how you got this car here to begin with. How have you been driving this? So twice now I've done that. I don't know how clutches work. I don't know what my mechanic means when he says this. But for all y'all who know about cars, here's what happened. All of the material in your clutch was worn away, and it was only the rivets that were working. The rivets that were keeping in the gear. I don't know what that means exactly, but what I do know is it means I got 110% out of that clutch. I got every mile, every penny, everything out of and wait, Crow, clutches, switches, fear, I believe. I could be wrong. Switch gears. Yes, they do switch the gears. That is exactly what they do. And Shaga's saying what happens is you continually adjust your driving to what's happening. Yeah, exactly. I guess I'm basically a clutch whisperer, and it's like, oh baby, we can do it. Don't worry. I can talk you into it. And so, let's see here. Yeah, Molly drives a Fred Flintstone car and my shoes are worn out. And Kenny from the Cove, I don't know if he's impressed or scared. Holy smokes, girl. Yeah, I drive it till the clutch falls off. And so, Darlene, wow, that means exactly what you said, Mad Statter. You've been very lucky so far. And, so I wouldn't be able to slow down or speed up. So that's why they said they didn't know how you got here. Well, I guess, but I was able to slow down. I was able to speed up. See, here's the deal, you guys. If my car goes, I take it. For the most part. The first time this happened to me, I don't know, maybe I'm a witch. But the first time it happened to me, I was in the mountains of Idaho, and I had just come down off of the side of a mountain to the riverbed, and I had about 6.5 hours to get home. And it was a 6.5 hour drive that was mostly 2-lane highways. You didn't have to stop for hardly nothing. So I get to the bottom of the mountain, and my car just like crashes. It doesn't crash, but it just stops. And so I'm like, well, this sucks, because like there's no cell phone service. I'm 6.5 hours from home. I'm literally in the mountains of Idaho in the middle of nowhere. I mean, like the closest town is maybe population 500, maybe. So middle of nowhere, Idaho, but I knew where I was. I'd been there before. And so I sat at the bottom of the mountain and I cried for just a second, just a little bit. And then I was like, well, let's see if I can make the car start again, even though it had totally stopped. And the car started. So I was like, oh, okay. And so I was, okay. So I was like, all right. So basically the car goes. It's just getting to get it going is the problem. But once it goes. It keeps going. And I was like, and I can pretty much stay in 5th gear the whole drive home. So let's do it, right? So I drove that car with no clutch. 6.5 hours home to Seattle. Eventually I did have to stop and go, whatever. But I got there. But then I had to go take my car to get the clutch fixed. And me not knowing that it was as in a bad a shape as it was like, oh, I'll just drive it at the mechanics. So the mechanic's house was like another hour away or whatever. So that mechanic was freaking out, not the one I use now. But then the one I use now, my best friend, he once again was like, wow, I don't know how you did what you did or how you do what you do, but I do what I do because I'm a witch, I guess. And let's see here. What make and model of the car was it? The one that I just beat in Idaho was a 97 Saturn SL1. And I'll tell you what, dude. People really badmouth Saturns. And that's fine. They can badmouth Saturns all they want. But my Saturn 1997 SL1 was my favorite car ever. It got 40 miles to the gallon. I went through a couple different clutches on it. I got almost 250,000 miles out of it. Went through 2 different car accidents before it finally got totaled. I drove that car over 100 miles an hour in California. I drove that car till it was dead. And honestly, I feel like I probably could have driven it longer if it hadn't have been totaled in the last car accident. By the way, all the car accidents that car... No, that's not true. One of the 2 car accidents that car got into was not my fault. Now, when I hit the house... I mean, one could argue the house ran out in front of me. The house didn't really do that, but one could argue that. But the house part, that one was my fault. That was the first accident. But the second accident that totaled the car... Because when I hit the house, I didn't total the car. Because that's how good Saturns were. And let's see here. You had a Saturn. You flipped the crap out of it. It saved my life. I dropped 100 feet when I flipped it. They said you're a lucky day. Yes, dude. Those roll cages that they had in there, they were remarkably safe cars. I loved my flippin' Saturn. And eMusic, I have a neighbor with that same kind of Saturn car, old but still drivable. Yeah, the real problem with Saturns at this point is, since they don't make Saturns anymore, parts are like next to impossible to get. But seriously, as a heart attack, I totally loved that flippin' flirpin' Saturn. And to go back way up here, Shock was asking, how different does the clutch feel now? It feels a lot different. Like, I don't know that I'm putting my car... Like, it doesn't even feel like my car is in gear when it's already in gear. It feels very different now. So I'm gonna have to, like, readjust. And, let's see here. Puzzy, you have an automatic transmission in the Mustang. You can drive a clutch, but it's a lot of work. Personally prefer automatic. A lot of people do, dude, and if I had a commute with stop-and-go traffic, I probably would prefer an automatic, but I just feel like I have more control when I have a manual. I've driven manuals since I was 20, so for the last 30 years, and whoever it was, I think it was Andre or maybe it was Kenny, who said, by the time this car goes, they're not going to be making any more manuals. I know, this is probably going to be my last manual transmission car, not because of any opinion of mine, but literally they are so hard to find now, unless you get a sports car, and that's really the last thing I want to get. And let's see here, Andre, transmissions are magical things. Sometimes you can will them to work, other times their will is stronger than yours. Absolutely true. And out of the few years you've lived, you've never had to have a mechanic fix your cars. Very lucky there, Crow, very lucky. And let's see here. Andre's saying, I remember having a bad gas filter and called AAA. He did something with the gas cap, told me to start, and the thing started up, and he said, no matter what, do not stop till you're at your mechanic. Nice. That was good, though, that he did that. And Crow, you have an explanation. You do some voodoo magic on your car. I hope it runs. Crow, I'll tell you what. Voodoo magic on your car is a silly thing that is 1000% true. I had a friend who had to borrow someone else's car, and it was a clunker junker of a car, and the person who they borrowed it from told them explicitly, my car doesn't run unless you kiss it. And he was like, what the hell are you talking about? The car wouldn't start for him. And he called her up. He's like, your car's not starting. She's like, did you kiss it? And he was like, no. And she's like, I told you have to kiss it. So he kissed the steering wheel and the car started up. So, yeah, car voodoo magic is a thing. It is a thing. And let's see here. Kenny from the Cove, you drove your 70 Buick until the resale value was less than the price of a Big Neck. Exactly, dude. And dwarves are the ones that work the transmission. That is so cute. Because yeah, no, seriously, I look at cars as tools. They're not status symbols. They're not diamond rings. They're not fancy pants. They're tools to get from one place to the other. You use your tool until your tool is no longer usable. I just don't understand people who've got these shiny, huge trucks that they drive in the city, and they're trucks that are big enough and strong enough to haul a barn, but these guys in these dualies, the dual rear wheel trucks, they don't even, they won't even see a pallet of cat litter, let alone an actual, barn load of something. Keeping all super shiny and chromed, driving them downtown worried that somebody's gonna nick them. Sometimes I feel like just running my grocery cart right into those things just to show them, like, seriously, cars get hit, deal with it. I don't, but I have thought of it. And let's see here. Darlene, yes, still have your 2002 Toyota Camry. Okay, first off, Toyota Camrys officially last until infinity. So you're going to have your great grandkids are going to have that Toyota Camry, Darlene. I'm not at all surprised it still runs like a charm. Great for running around the city. You just don't want to do the long trips. Makes sense. And Andre, Toyota and Honda still make manual transmissions. Well, Subaru does too, but but they don't. They're very difficult to find in their regular cars. Like, I haven't ever seen a Honda CR-V or whatever with a manual transmission. It's usually the sports models that still have them. And I don't want a sports car. I have a dirt driveway. I have to drive down a dirt road to get to work. I don't want a sports car. Even if I didn't have to have a dirt driveway or drive down a dirt road to get to work, I still don't want a sports car. And there you go. Your Chevy half-ton blue will turn 15 this July. Exactly. And Huzzy Cat, so beautiful. You drove your Bronco for 4 decades, and you never babied it, and you drove it like a truck. Yeah, and worked with it and pulled a boat. Right, exactly. That's what you need those big old things for. And Andre, Volkswagen also has manual transmissions. I don't like driving Volkswagens. They're too rattly. My sister is a VW freak. I don't like them. My sister likes VWs and Jeeps. I like Subarus. I don't like VWs. And Subaru, like I said, they do actually make manual transmissions, but the problem actually, honestly, you guys, is it's not even the manual transmission part. I don't even know how I'm going to buy a newer car because I don't like new cars. I don't like their electrical systems. I don't like their safety systems. I don't like their alert systems. I don't like their camera systems. I don't want any of that. The last car accident that I got into, not my fault, but you know whose fault it was? It was the fault of the guy who was paying attention to his rear camera, and he was backing up, looking at his rear camera, instead of looking over his shoulders and out of his mirrors. So he just depended on his rear view camera, backed right up, didn't notice that I was backing out, and he shouldn't have even been backing out. It was totally his fault. But if he had looked over his shoulder, he would have seen me. But by focusing solely on his safety system, he ended up getting into a flippin' accident. I cannot with that. I cannot with that. And, Shock, you like, driving your husband's stick shift, I thought it said makeshift versus stick shift BMWs, 86 and 87, they feel so solid. Right, there you go. And, let's see here. You got Volkswagen given to me, so I've only driven them. Oh, got it, yeah. And let's see, 2024 Subaru, WRX are Subarus that have manual. Yeah, they're all exactly. They're all super high end, and so yeah, they're and the WRX. I think that's a sports car. That's one of Subaru's sports cars, and so yeah, I don't want a sports car, even though I want the transmission of a sports car. Gall dung it, and and shock. Oh, the stick shift BMWs are getting to be a little bit makeshift. That's so cute. So I was speaking the truth. And hey, Pussycat, Leo stopped by today. He didn't come inside that I know of, and but I saw him outside. He spoke to me extensively. Wouldn't let me give him ear scritches in public. That was not on the agenda. But he went through my backyard, sprayed all over my backyard to make sure everybody knows that this is his territory. And then I left to go pick up my car. But Pussycat, Mr. Leo stopped by and said hello today, and he left his mark everywhere outside. So my backyard is now thoroughly protected from outliers. Mr. Leo, he's on the prowl, he's on the mark, he's on shift. He's on guard, is what it is. And let's see here. The BRZ is the only rear-only Subaru. I don't know what rear-only means. Do you mean rear-wheel drive? That's weird, because Subarus have been all-wheel drive for a really long time. And let's see here. In 2014, the Grand National Champion was named Shakalaka Boom Boom. That's so cute, says Terry in Scotland. Well, okay, I said the cute part. Terry didn't. And yeah, Shock, that doesn't surprise me. In the 80s, a lot of cars were still rear wheel drive. Didn't seem to ever be that difficult to say. Yes, rear wheel drive. It's their fastest Subaru. Interesting. Okay. And yes, Kenny, that was exactly it. Mr. Leo is very busy planting his flags in Mollyland. Yes, from his jowl hormones to his other things, he was rubbing his face and rubbing his butt all up against everything. And let's see here. You have a live axle in the Mustang. That's why I bought it. I don't know what that means, Pussycat. And Crow, I will always choose a car made before 2000 rather than after. Don't get me wrong, I have a few new cars, but I prefer my older ones. I totally agree. Now, granted, my Subaru is 2004, but quite honestly, yeah, once they start getting into the super high-end electrical components and all of those safety features, turn it off. I don't want them. I don't want a touchscreen. I don't want a nothing. I don't want a rear camera. I mean, I understand rear cameras. Like, if I'm driving an 18-wheeler, by all means, throw in a rear camera or two. Help me out. But when you're in a tiny little work car that is virtually windows all around, don't just back up using your rear view camera and then run into people like me, gall dung it. And Andre, you do not have to use the rear view camera. Well, okay, true, but part of what I don't like about the rear view cameras is just that whole touch screen, huge video screen that is there. It's distracting. It takes up too much of it's a cheap piece of equipment. It's going to be one of the first things to break. It takes up too much room on my dash. It's needless electronic components to screw other stuff up. I just don't want it. You know how some people don't want air conditioning in their car, and people like me are just like, you're insane. Why wouldn't you want air conditioning in your car? This is how I feel about that crap. I don't want it. I do not want it. Let's see here. When you have an SUV, you need a review because you cannot see? I drive an SUV. An SUV is nothing but windows in the back. You can totally see. Now, if you're driving a Mustang, a new Mustang, Those I can see why they need a rear view camera, because their window is so high up you can't see what's down there. But like my SUV, oh, not a Ford Explorer. Well, I don't know, dude. If you know how to use your side mirrors, you mean for kids and things? I guess. I just I mean, yeah, when you're in maybe a parking lot or a driveway or something, but it just, I just don't, I just don't, I just don't want them. I don't want any of those things. And let's see here. Shock, I set my mirrors for the lanes beside me between visibility in the rear view and peripheral vision. Yeah, exactly. Back window is all windowy and stuff. Right, totally. Okay, so Puzzy's saying I have a straight axle as opposed to independent rear on the new ones. Old school. Okay. Okay. I don't really know what that means. Okay. Okay. And Kenny, only 2 options are mandatory in any vehicle you own: functioning AC and a CD player. I can get away without the CD player, and the only reason why I can say that is because my CD player right now doesn't work. But the AC, right now, I don't necessarily need the AC, but let me tell you, in the summer I do need the AC. And here's what confuses me about people who don't want AC in their car. I mean, I get it when you're in the Seattle area, you don't need AC for much of the year. I get that. I mean, you do in July and August, but okay. You don't need it. But the funny thing about cars is they can take you places. My car that's in Seattle can actually take me to like Arizona. And when you're in Arizona, you need AC. Period. End of story. I've driven through Arizona without AC in a 67 Plymouth Fury. I can tell you right now, when you're in Arizona, you need AC. Okay, Pussycat, it's rear wheel drive. That is old school. That much I understand. I don't understand much, but I understood that one. And let's see here, Crow. Your everyday car is a sports car, and it isn't the easiest to look through the back window, so I technically have to use the rearview mirror. Right, there you go. And Darlene, yeah, the one thing you demand is air conditioning in the car. Absolutely. Andre, I've driven in Oregon and needed air conditioning. Andre, I totally agree. Oregon, Eastern Oregon especially, you need air conditioning. Eastern Washington, you need air conditioning. Certain times of the year, Western or Oregon or Western Washington, you need air conditioning. I totally agree. I don't understand people who don't want air conditioning. Just like people probably don't understand why I don't want all those fancy flippin' bells and whistles. I get it. Like, I'm insane for not wanting that. I get it. And people who don't want AC, also a little bit insane. Yes, I'm making that judgment. And yeah, 105 outside of Eugene, absolutely, Andre. That, yeah, actually, you... Given the wrong time of year, the west coast of Oregon and Washington can get remarkably hot. And if it was in the last, 5 years, we've been getting hot, real hot, real a lot. So yeah, not at all surprised that you needed your air conditioning outside of Eugene at 105. Yeah, if it's 100, I don't care where you are. If it's 105, you need your air conditioning. And so Crow Energy, the rear view camera, is also needed. Yeah, like Andre said, I guess with some of the bigger SUVs, you probably need them. But where I noticed where I was the most, all right, let's try this again. The one time that I was the most uncomfortable with, oh my God, I really don't feel like I've got a sense of what's behind me while I'm backing up, was in the Mustang that I rented when I was on Maui. it would have been probably a 2006, 2007 Mustang design, and their rear windows were just small and high up, and the car itself had a jacked up sort of back end. I really felt like I couldn't see very well. So I can see why rear view cameras, I guess, are handy for some models. But listen, I drive a fishbowl. You know, I mean, the Honda Forester, Subaru Forester, if you've ever looked at a Forester, it's a fishbowl. It's all windows. So, you know, I can see everything. Kenny, I have one question for people who don't want AC. Do you live in Alaska or Buffalo? No, they live in all of the ones that I've had conversations with live in this Puget Sound area. And the thing is, Kenny, they're older Puget Sound people who back in the day, a long time ago, 40, 50 years ago, you could get away with not having a car with air conditioning in the Pacific Northwest because, quite honestly, you maybe would need it for 4 weeks out of the year. But in the last 50 years, it's gotten warmer and warmer and warmer here. And, you know, we actually, in the Pacific Northwest, used to not have houses. Houses with air conditioning used to be virtually unheard of. I mean, unheard of. Not a window unit, never central AC, no split mini heat ducts, no nothing. No air conditioning. Houses these days are getting built with air conditioners in them. I have an air conditioner in my house. Almost everybody I know has some sort of air conditioner in their house, usually a window unit, but stuff has gotten hotter. And so these old school dudes, usually, I don't need no AC in my car. Because, you know, they didn't used to, but they do now. And Andre, man, it was warm in Burien during June when I have come the last 2 years. Exactly. We have gotten the potential for using air conditioning between April and October in Washington is totally a thing now. It never used to be a thing. But April, May, June, July, August, September, October, 7 months, more than half of the year, there is a very distinct possibility you might need to use your air conditioning. Things in Washington have changed. But the old school people, they're stubborn and they don't want to do it. And I don't know why they don't want to do it, but they don't. And let's see here. Crow, the only thing that sometimes bothers you is that your start button is covered by a plastic cover. It looks like a rocket ship starter. That's so cute. And let's see here. Andre, you have a step driveway at your other house? And in those huge SUVs, they seem to give the rental car... Wait, you have a step driveway at your house. And in those huge SUVs, they seem to give you at the rental car. You needed them there. Okay, I don't know what a step driveway is. And let's see here. Shock, when you pick up your Kapuna Outlaws for appointments, you back down the driveway and drive up it. Would never want to back up their steep ass driveway. Okay. And Kenny, Blue's rearview mirror is so big you can see the the future creeping up on you. That's cute. Let's see here. Terry, you couldn't back a gooseneck trailer to save your life. Oh, once there's trailers on it, I am just useless as tits on a bull, my friend. Useless as tits on a bull. A steep driveway, says Shock, not a step driveway. Yeah, that makes way more sense. I mean, like, infinity more sense than a step driveway. Yeah. All right, I'll get there when someone points me in the right direction. Thanks, Shock. And they want to get the benefit of better gas mileage without AC too. That old Honda Insights Kane started with no AC on the manual version. It would get upwards of 60 miles to gallon on how you drove around. Nice. Yeah, and my manual Subaru, dude, 40 miles to the gallon. It was the most beautiful thing ever. It was super awesome. And Andre, you would need a backup camera to do the backup. Ha, nice. Yep, there we have it. All right, you guys, I think it's right about time that we do our little Lono listening break. So, how about I find it? Here we go. And I chose this song because it's kind of cherry blossom season in the Pacific Northwest, maybe in Japan, I don't know. But here we have it, Sukiyaki by Lono.
日本皆さんは私はロロです。上を向いて歩こう。涙がこぼれないように思い出す。春の日、一人ぼっちの夜、上を向いて歩こう。滲んだ星を数えて思い出す。夏の日、一人ぼっちの夜、幸せは雲の上に、幸せは空の上に。上を向いて歩こう。涙がこぼれないように泣きながら歩く。一人ぼっちの夜、思い出す。秋の日、一人ぼっちの夜、悲しみは星の鏡、悲しみは月の鏡。上を向いて歩こう。涙がこぼれないように泣きながら歩く。一人ぼっちの夜、一人ぼっちの夜。
No, Crow, that is not the original name. I don't remember off the top of my head what the original name of that song was. It's known best as Sukiyaki, but I've got the original name someplace else, so let me find it for ya. It's not gonna take but forever, apparently. And let's see here. Nope, that's not what I wanted to do. But okay, so hold on. Oh god dang it. The original name is something like this. Let me find it and write it. There we go. Terry's got it. I couldn't remember how to spell it, but Terry's got all the info you need. Yes, sirree. Um, yeah. So Lono did a cover of that after the big tsunami in Japan, and so you can get that if you are interested. You can get that video, or excuse me, that song of Lono's on Old Style 9 Gold Style. Whew. All right, there we have it, Rabbit. And let's see here. Yes, thank you so much, Terry, for all that info. I really, really appreciate you guys. I don't know how other streamers like it when people come in like, here's what Wikipedia says, here's what Google says, here's what's going on. I love it when people do that because sometimes I vaguely know what I'm talking about, and vaguely turns into, you really don't know what you're talking about. So when folks can come in with like corrections or reality checks or however you want to frame it, that's just awesome. I really appreciate it when people do that. So so thank you, Terry in Scotland and mods and everybody else who throws down the facts when when maybe sometimes I'm lacking the facts. Exactly. I got the crew for the info. That is exactly right. Got to make sure I vaguely know what I'm talking about. And Terry, yes, sometimes I do have no clue what I'm talking about. Does it show? And let's see here. Maybe I could create a Lono wiki. I probably could. I don't know whether or not Lono would want me to, but I probably could, actually. I have spreadsheets of all of his, not all of his songs, but most of his songs. And if they're original traditional Hawaiian tunes, who originally wrote them, what the original music was. Like, I have actually done some cross-referencing. I probably could do a Wikipedia of Lono music. But you know what? I'm not going to. I mean, if someone wants to pay me, but Wikipedia is not about the and so that's right. Oh, and that is right. Rick is not here today because he's doing things up north. I'm going to assume probably just checking on the place, because Darlene, Rick's not opening up for spring yet, is he? Seems a little too early to be getting the cabin ready for you guys to go up there, or is it? I don't know. Maybe it's not too early. I mean, I guess spring is on the verge of being sprung. Only a couple weeks till that. So yeah, and yes, exactly. Shock and Terry, thank you guys so much for being here. If Gina's here, thank Gina, although I haven't seen her, I don't think. And Gina, if you are here and I didn't see you, I'm so sorry. And thanks Andre for all the fancy pants info that he throws down. And let's see here. Okay, so eMusic, yeah, there's no snow in Wisconsin, so it would make sense. Rick is opening the cabin. I did think that halfway through my questioning, so that did cross my mind. So suddenly I'm like, well, I could be wrong. I don't know what I'm talking about. And let's see here. Darlene, starting small time, getting ready to open, not a full open. Gotcha. This winter was extra mild. The ice is off the lake, and all the snow is melted. Yeah, it sounds like there wasn't a whole lot of ice on a whole lot of lakes this year. And that's not necessarily a good thing. And actually, on that note, I guess, we can talk about what it is I was going to talk about. So, we've got, in the last couple weeks, an amazing sighting on the East Coast, which is like, on the surface, you think, oh, dude, this is awesome. But then when you think about it, you're like, oh, maybe it's not so awesome. So, on that note, let's watch this little piece of news, and I'll explain Maybe it's not so awesome. Let's see.
Well, new at 6 o'clock, this is a sighting of a species that has been believed to be extinct for 200 years in the Atlantic. The New England Aquarium says its crew spotted this rare gray whale swimming off Nantucket. This is only the 5th sighting of a gray whale outside the Pacific in centuries, and experts say it is a sign of the impact of climate change.
As waters warm, the ice sheets have receded or maybe have been breaking up a little bit in the summertime. And so we believe that the most logical explanation for how this whale got to the Atlantic is that it's able to kind of find a passageway through the ice, or where there isn't as much ice, from Alaska through the Arctic into the Atlantic.
It is extraordinary. Researchers, for good reason, photographed this whale for a full 45 minutes so that they could confirm their belief that, yes, in fact, this is a gray whale.
Okay, so gray whale. Yeah. Now, let's just see. This gray whale in the video doesn't really give you an idea of just what a gray whale is. So to remind you, blue whales are the largest whale in the world. Gray whales are the next biggest. Here's what they look like, and here's a little bit of a scale perspective. So, that's the gray whale. Like, that's what a gray whale looks like, right? But you see the head and how tiny that head is? And how just tiny that head is? Look at how big that head is. So, the body is a lot bigger than that. Yeah. And if you're wondering how, that's right, I've got maps. That's how it got from one side of the country to the other, or one of the possible ways. So, is that cool? I don't know. When I first heard that the gray whale was spotted in at first when I thought, words, they're so jarred. At first when I heard that the gray whale was spotted in the Atlantic, I was like, awesome, the population is making a comeback. But then I heard, oh wait, that's not right, Kenny, I hope that sighting turns out to be a sign that they're making a comeback. No, they're not. It's a Pacific. The Pacific, it was a Pacific gray whale, not an Atlantic gray whale. The Pacific gray whale found its way to the Atlantic. So there is a possibility that the population of Pacific gray whales will eventually move to the Atlantic and create a breeding population there. But they're not the same thing as the whales that were hunted to extinction 200 years ago in that body of water. And so, on one hand, that's cool that whales are finding enough food to repopulate those waters. But I think we all know that the ice sheets melting to such a degree that a Northwest Passage is actually found, that's not necessarily good either. And so, like I said, it's like, well, is this cool or is it not cool? You know, I don't really know. And eMusic, maybe the whale took that route because the waters were cooler than in the Pacific. Yeah, that seems very, I don't know much about gray whales at all, but as any migratory animal, they follow their food, and if their food prefers cold water, then it totally stands to reason that their food is gonna find the cold water passages to stay in. Just like, last year before, whatever, when suddenly there was like this huge crab die-off and all the crabs in this one area just completely disappeared in Alaska's waters because the waters were too warm for the crabs to breed and populate anymore. So they had to move to colder waters, colder, deeper fishing grounds, and the crabbers didn't know where those grounds were yet, so they hadn't found them. So basically the crabs disappeared. And a lot of them died too, because the water's too warm. But yeah, I do think that the water being cold is exactly what prompted this behavioral change. And Crow, you want the megalodon to come back to existence just to see what would happen? I don't know if there'd be enough food to feed one of them their things. And let's see here. Kenny, if a gray whale pod takes up a permanent residence in the Atlantic, does it stay a Pacific gray whale? Well, I can't answer that question because I don't know enough about anything, but this is my guess. No, not until that breeding population creates its own subspecies through interbreeding with one another, and they create a very specific yet distinct trait which differentiates themselves from Pacific gray whales. And the reason why I say that, oddly enough, is because we have two types of gray whales here on the West Coast. We've got Pacific gray whales and we've got coastal gray whales. And I actually didn't choose to upload a picture of the difference today. But now, as you can see, as I'm staring blankly into my television screen, my computer monitor, this thing in front of me, let me see if I can find it. Well, that's not how I'm supposed to do stuff. Hold on. And yeah, exactly, Andre. Californians are moving everywhere. And, let's see. E-Music, I recommend you eat some Japanese food, swallowing hard to make the sukiyaki song go away. We've got a place in Burien that serves sukiyaki for breakfast. I love their sukiyaki, but that's a different story entirely. So let's see if we can do things and stuff. Whales is what I'm doing here, and then I'm gonna hopefully find it here. And then, let's see here, gray whale, and then we go like this, and that's not what I wanted to do. What day is it today? That is what day it is today. Here we go. Alrighty, so. To screen. Okay. So, oh, god dang it. That's not what I wanted. All right, here we go. Okay, here we go. So, we've got the Eastern Northern Pacific gray whale, which is the gray whale that swam to the Atlantic. And then we've got the Pacific Coast Feeding Group gray whales. And you see they're distinctly shorter, almost as wide, but shorter. Their tails are a little bit different shaped. And so, my point in all this is, in order for the Eastern Northern Pacific, so obviously these two feeding groups have kept separately enough that they've evolved slightly differently. So, what I hypothesize, and somebody who knows what I'm not, somebody who knows better, please pop in. But what I'm thinking is, the Eastern Northern Pacific gray whales, if they go through the Northwest Passage and end up in the Atlantic, they're going to have to breed together enough that it will create some sort of difference from the pod or the group in which they originally spawned from. And by the way, even though it's hard to understand, the west coast of the United States is the eastern part of the Pacific, which I know is weird. to think about. It's like a negative thing. You're going like through the looking glass, but that's what they mean by Eastern Northern Pacific, is the ones that are in the Pacific Northwest. Cause yeah, there you go. And let's see here, Mama Sean, good to see you here. And let's see here. It looks like you guys want all sorts of aminals to come back. Kenny wants the woolly mammoth to make a comeback so you can adopt one from the hairy elephant rescue and let it take me for a drag through the park. It will drag you through the park, and I think that actually they're pretty. I think they're fairly close to getting woolly mammoths sort of back. And you want the Titanoboa to make a comeback? I don't know what that is. Is that a snake? Because I'll tell you what, the snakes we've already got, I love snakes, but the snakes we already got, they big enough. They big enough. We don't need no more snakes any bigger than that. And let's see here. And okay, so it is a very big snake. Okay, it is a very big snake. Yeah, obviously bigger than a boa constrictor. What with the name Titanoboa. But you know, what is it? Anacondas, which is basically a variety of a boa constrictor. Anacondas get big enough. Pythons get big enough. We really don't need a snake any longer than 30 feet. Frankly, I don't think we need a snake that's 30 feet. But we already have those. So I guess we're stuck with that. Yeah, 45 feet long. Yeah, we don't need that. We don't need that. We don't need that. Can you imagine how big around they must have been if they were like, well, they're possibly 60. Yeah, totally. Because I mean, some snakes can get to be like close to 30 feet and they're already still alive around, you know. So if it was super big, obviously it would be bigger than the 30-foot one. So 60 feet, 45 feet, those both sound horrifying to me, but that tracks. That totally tracks. And oh my gosh, thank you, Andre, for subscribing for 30 months in a row. And yes, Puzzy, you have a python problem in Florida. They killed one in Everglades that was 22 feet long. Exactly. And yeah, so I already know that pythons and anacondas can get close to 30 feet. So I have no desire to recreate a 60-foot or 45-foot nothing. No need. No need for that. And Puzzycat, you know, I know that there's programs to get rid of the pythons, but I'm of the impression at this point that the python problem in the Everglades is they're there now. Like, there's really not, I mean, obviously you want to do every single thing you can to curb the population, but eradication of the pythons, from what I understand, is never going to happen. They've established themselves so firmly in the landscape, which is really awful because Florida's ecosystems are already being pressured on so many levels. The last thing they need is another a non-native apex predator coming in to the ecosystem to really screw things up. But yeah, I feel like I've read that the pythons in Florida, yeah, they're unwanted, but they gonna stay. They gonna stay. Yeah, you got the gators and the sharks too, but the gators and sharks are supposed to be there. And exactly, Mama Sean, we need to take care of the animals we have without bringing back the Ice Age varieties. Yeah, I totally agree. Because here's the thing, some of those super large Ice Age varieties of animals, you gotta feed them. You know, and if they were big predators, then clearly they were eating big prey. So if we don't have their big prey, we're gonna have to stuff them full of chickens, and we might not have enough chickens. We've got a lot of chickens, but we might not have enough. And let's see here. Florida is the Australia of the United States. That is essentially what I think as well. And exactly, they could eat us. Not such a good idea. And let's see here. Yeah, Pussycat. They have they have python hunting and pay a bounty for the dead snakes. Yeah, I know, but even still, I think even with all of that, I know that Florida is doing everything it can to make the snakes not be there. But I think the state also sort of recognizes, yeah, they're here. They're here. They're gonna be here. They're gonna keep being here. But you guys, speaking of swamps and snakes and things, that's right. Speaking of swamps and snakes and things, Pocola T went to Belize on her little cruise ship, which isn't a little cruise ship at all. It's a big cruise ship. But she went on an airboat in Belize through the swamp. And here we have it, the airboat in Belize through the swamp. And hey, Chris Kimotsu, how you doing? We're going on a little video ride, a little swamp ride, video ride in Belize, the Belize jungle. And I don't know how long this video is. Oh, it's only about a minute and a half, so no, not a whole lot. I don't know exactly what we're gonna see, other than this little, I don't know why people do this aspect ratio or whatever. But this is Belize, part of the jungle in Belize. And it looks like it's all swamp. I don't know how close Belize is to Florida, but I feel like Florida might have some areas that look like this. And now that we're getting in the weeds, I feel like, oh, what's gonna pop out of the weeds? What are we gonna see? Makes me nervous. And yeah, Andre, I agree. If Florida man cannot stop the pythons, then who can? What does that mean, Shaq? Gojira? Gojira? Godzilla? Is that what you were trying to say? Gojira! And let's see here. Okay, you did say it was Godzilla. All right, that's what I thought you said. All right, so that's our little swamp trip. That's our little swamp trip in Belize. And Pussycat's bragging, I have the Tamaka River at the bottom of my street and the Atlantic Ocean at the top. I'm 10 houses away from the beach. You sound like you're about 10 days away from being flooded, my friend. Now, you sound like you've got an awesome piece of property, without a doubt. But yeah, you've got water to the left of you, ocean to the right. Here you are, stuck on a tiny piece of land. Stuck on a tiny piece of land. And Terry's letting us know about Belize. It's a country on the northeastern coast of Central America. It's bordered by Mexico to the north and Caribbean Sea to the east and Guatemala to the west and south. It also shares a water boundary with Honduras to the southeast. There we have it. So Belize is part of Central America, not North America. All right. And let's see here. Andre, Kenny, do you know that the modern bison are dwarf bison? There was a bigger one, but they died off because of climate change. Interesting. I did not know that. Let's see here. If you could, wait, can you imagine if our bison are dwarf bison? Yeah, they're pretty tiny. Oh, you live on a barrier island, Tuzzy Cat? Is that why you've got water to the left of you, water to the right? Got it. And Darlene, your daughter was there for 2 weeks a year ago on a trip. They loved it. It was beautiful. Yeah, I've heard great things about Belize. And from what I understand, and definitely quote me if I'm wrong, I feel like they take the US dollar there. I know that they're not part of us at all. In fact, I want to say Belize used to belong to like the Netherlands or something. But yeah, they're English. Yeah, they're an English speaking country for sure. Yeah, Puzzy Cat. No, I know what the insurance is for your house. You told me, and no, I cannot afford the insurance if I move to Florida. That's the thing, you guys. It's so funny. Puzzy Cat and I were talking on the phone a few months ago, and we were comparing costs of living. And really, you hear about, oh, it's so expensive to live up here in Seattle, and cost of living is so much cheaper to blah blah to in Arizona or this that and everything, or in Florida. But when you really boil it down to it, it's just like not really that much different. It's just you spend your money on different things. So like, okay, sure, housing costs are super expensive up in the Northwest, and housing costs are super cheap down in the Southeast. Okay, cool, but here's the deal. It costs nothing to insure your houses up in the Pacific Northwest. It costs everything to insure your houses down in the Southeast, in the hurricane areas. So your monthly payment to your house note, which includes your insurance and your mortgage, it's still going to be the same. It's just that your insurance proportion is going to be so much higher. So, but out of pocket, you're still paying infinity dollars a month. It's just where the money's going to, And so they say that it's expensive in the Seattle area, but some things in the Seattle area are so cheap that it kind of makes up for it. For instance, homeowners insurance. And Andre, in California, the fire insurance is gonna probably go up, but I mean, I guess eventually the fire insurance will start. It'll start hitting us up here as well, I guess. But yeah, the fire insurance that we famous last words. I'm not sure I really should say this, but I'm already heading down that road. Western Washington doesn't have a whole lot of problems with wildfires. And yeah, that is true. They are having wildfires in Alaska and the like, but a lot of those wildfires are in wilderness areas where wildfires probably need to be burning. Part of the reason why we have such a wildfire problem is because the last 100 years, we haven't been letting fires burn. And that's actually a problem, because if you don't burn the underbrush, then the next time there's a fire, that's just a bunch of tinder to stoke the fire hotter and bigger and wider. So, fire actually is a very important part of a forest's ecosystem. And in the last 100 years, the United States' mantra has been to put out fires, when really, in some cases, they should have just let them burn. But with more and more houses going into deep wilderness areas, then suddenly they have to put the fire out because there's property damage, there's people, blah, blah, blah. But I think, from what I understand, in California, they are considering laws and policies that are just like, well, if you choose to have your house in the middle of nowhere and you're one of 5, yeah, good luck with that. We're gonna let it burn. Your house is gonna go. Sorry, it's gonna go. Let's see here. St. Augustine is awesome. It's the oldest city in America, over 450 years old, says Puzzy Cat, I believe. And Crow, I say let it burn, let it burn, let it burn, let it shrivel up and burn. And let's see here. Kenny from the Cove, your homeowner's insurance just went up. If this trend doesn't stop, you'll have to You'll have to stop yelling at kids to get off your lawn long enough to fire off a sternly worded email. And true, Andre, we do get the same kind of homeless urban fires, Seattle homeless encampments by the freeway, spreading to a house. Well, for sure, but that's not a climate change problem. That's a homeless problem. That's very different. That doesn't matter. Though, and actually, oddly enough, those fires happen more often in the winter because they're trying to burn stuff in the homeless encampment to keep warm, and the fires get out of control. And so, so oddly enough, it's winter is really when those fires happen. And, okay, so I'm going to tell you guys this. A couple years ago, another thing that starts fires has nothing to do with climate change. A couple years ago, there was a series of arsons, or what, well, I mean, technically they were arsons, I guess. There was a series of arsons in White Center, and a whole bunch of abandoned buildings kept getting burnt down over the span of like 3 weeks. And they were all within a couple blocks of each other. It really, really, really was looking like, we got a firebug. Somebody's, we got a firebug. No, that's not what happened. No, what happened was, a bunch of homeless, I don't know if they were meth heads or if they were smoking heroin, but one of my friends who knows everybody on the street actually knew somebody who was at one of the houses when it happened. When a bunch of junkies are in an abandoned house smoking their dope, whatever dope it is, sometimes they run out of lighters. They run out of things. They run out of flame. So what they do is, in the abandoned house, they take a piece of the siding off and they light the siding. So the siding is just constantly burning. So then they smoke their dope and then they forget to put the fire out and they leave. And then the house burns down. And that's pretty much how all the houses and businesses, abandoned houses and businesses in White Center got burned down a couple summers ago. Because there was a bunch of flippin' junkies who were in there making sure they had flame. I couldn't believe it. I was kind of happy to know that it wasn't a malicious arsonist who was going around being a firebug. Because that's a little scary. This is just, you know, man, I have a lot of patience and sympathy with the homeless population. More so than most people. But that got on my last nerve. It was like, you burned down? Are you kidding me? Like, this was an abandoned piece of shelter that you as a homeless person could have slept in, but instead you burnt it down because you didn't have a lighter, so you thought the house would be a good lighter. Go steal a lighter from 7-Eleven, please. Just go steal a lighter from 7-Eleven. Good flippin' Lord. Hey, Gina, there you are. And Mama Sean, well, that kind of works for the landowner. Clean stuff out. Yeah, actually, to tell you the truth, the first time it happened in the first building, everybody thought it was the landowner who set it on fire just to get the insurance money or whatever. But then it kept happening in the area and they were different owners. And so then it was like, oh, haha, that other owner got the idea. But then once the third one happened, people were like, okay, hold up, yo, what is going on here? But yeah, yeah. And Andre, yes, I do see that happening in White Center. Yes, you would see. If you ever been to White Center, what I just said, oh yeah, that tracks. Oh yeah, that tracks with White Center. Yeah. And exactly, Terry, but they had a nice hot fire for a little while. Precisely. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, exactly, Shock. Twice is a coincidence. 3 times it's enemy action. And as it turns out, it really wasn't so much an enemy just as much as it was a bunch of idiots. I mean, a bunch of very short-sighted idiots. But, you know, when you're on the street and you're getting high, your vision is pretty short-sighted, so I guess I'll roll my eyes and shrug and say, oh, that's White Center for you. Andre, they need a homeless reality show about the White Center people. Would not believe that it was not scripted. Pretty much. And Mama Sean said Dr. Steve just said that was the mayor cleaning up. No, it's not. And the only reason why I can say that with certainty is because White Center is like, let's see here. White Center is a 14 block strip of land between the city of Seattle and the city of Burien. So you've got this little 14 block stretch of land, 14 north-south, I would say probably 14 east-west as well. And it's considered an unincorporated part of the county. So, like, you know when you're in the rural bumfuck wherever the hell? Sorry about that, you guys. But, you know, when you're out in the middle of the boonies, that's unincorporated county, right? Well, this stretch of very urban land also happens to be not claimed by any city. So it's unincorporated King County. And so there is no mayor. There's no city jurisdiction. It quite literally is its own thing, because there's not enough county cops to even bother with it. And Andre, it always confused me where White Center starts and where it ends. It, rightfully so, because part of what we consider White Center is technically in Seattle. But technically, the street, I don't know if you remember this, Andre, this rings your bells, but there's a street that goes east-west, and it's called Roxbury. And if you're on the south side of Roxbury, that's White Center. If you're on the north side of Roxbury, that's Seattle. That being said, the north side of Roxbury for a couple blocks, still pretty White Center-y. Pretty White Center vibes. So there's no mayor. There's basically nobody in charge, is really what it boils down to. Which is why White Center is what White Center is. And Andre, what city would claim White Center? They are always trying to avoid being associated. I don't know who you mean by they, but Seattle, to me, Seattle should claim White Center. It's just an obvious extension of the city. It's its own unique neighborhood within the West Seattle area. But White... There have been so many votes to get White Center into a city, and it's so the process of getting that land incorporated is so convoluted. Seattle has to vote that they want them, or Burien has to vote that they want them, and then once either Burien or Seattle says, "Yeah, we'll take these areas," then people in those areas have to vote if they want to be in either of them or none. And all the time, White Center doesn't want to be incorporated to either city. They don't want to be part of Burien, and they don't want to be a part of Seattle. So even though Seattle has said, hey, parts of White Center will totally take you, and even though Burien has said, hey, parts of White Center will totally take you, everybody in White Center is just like, no. No. Now, the problem with that is the people in White Center also complain that there's no police force, they have no cops, the county cops don't respond in timely manner, and blah, 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 which is true, because the county cops are literally in charge of the largest county in the state that goes all the way to the mountain pass to the east. There's not enough of them. So it's just like, well, White Center, pull your head out of your butt. You either are gonna have no cops and no services and no nothing, or you're gonna have to be part of a city. I don't know. You don't get to be both. You can't be not one and have everything. So I don't know what their problem is, but frankly, I think that they should be part of Seattle. So, let's see here. Kenny from the Cove, is there any upside to claiming White Center? Yes, there is an upside to claiming White Center, and Burien would probably get the more bang for their buck, because White Center has a thriving business. White Center has a ton of businesses in it. Probably as many businesses in White Center as there are in the city of Burien. And so the business tax revenue would absolutely make Burien a way wealthier city. It would make Burien a much larger city as well, population wise. There is benefit, but like I said, even if the city wants to take them on, the people don't want to be part of the city. And let's see here, Andre, I remember lots of sheriffs on the road going in and out of White Center starting at least 5 p.m. in the summer. Yes, what you saw, Andre, was the city of Burien contracts with King County sheriffs for some of their police positions. So what you probably saw was a sheriff that was contracted from the county, but working for the city of Burien, and they and that would exactly be what you're seeing. So there you go. And yes, the food is super good in White Center. The food is awesome in White Center. And yes, Darlene, also, yeah, more land and more tax base. Yeah, there's more property taxes that you can get. Yeah, but let's see here. And so as I explained here, and okay, so Mama Sean's saying Dr. Steve's mama's cousin lived down there in the 60s and he had to visit. Okay, yes, so he knows what's up. And yes, exactly, Terry in Scotland. Welcome to King County Geography with your host, Matt Statter. And let's see here. Is there any upside? All right, we got that. And let's see here. All right, we got the 2-minute warning coming from Kenny and from Shock. And Gina's saying, I had another hobby where I wanted to partake in, only my microphone was uncooperative and they were on a time limit. Oh, so you had to take a minute to test a different mic with a friend. Technical difficulties, Gina. Welcome to the Flippin' Flirpin' Club. And let's see, here's Andre. You're not right, but you're so very close. Andre's coming with reality. The only government office in White Center is the unemployment office. Am I right? Or is it some other government office? Yeah, no, it's not the unemployment office. It's the Social Security office where it's the Department of Health and Social Services office. And actually, I think the Social Security office is in that same building. But yeah, it's DSHS. So it's where you go to apply for food stamps. where you go to apply for food stamps, housing vouchers, and all those things that poor people need. White Center's gotcha, baby. White Center's gotcha. So there you have it, Rabbit. All right, it is the bottom of the hour. We're almost over time, and we know we're going to go over time because we know we are. We're going to keep it short. Gina, super stoked you finally got the flippin' flirpin' mic to work. And it's Sunday. I don't know what we're going to see on next Saturday for Chatterbox at the Cinema. Statterbox at the Cinema. We're going to watch something. But before that, we'll see each other on Wednesday and chatter about who knows what. And Lady Misty, you guess you're poor. Oh, honey bunches. It actually, you don't have to be very poor to get food stamps. And oh, maybe I do. Maybe you do, and maybe I'm just so poor that it doesn't seem like it's that poor. But yeah, no harm. I've let's just say I know it's at that office for reasons that are personal. Yeah, I may or may not have been to that office more than once. So, definitely no judgment coming your way. All right, you guys. Let's see here. Kenny from the Cove. Got anything Irish themed for Saturday? I can't even think of an Irish themed movie other than that horror movie about the leprechaun, and we're not going to watch that. I'll have to think about that. I will have to think about that. And Shock, on the 16th, you've got to commit to a murder mystery. You cannot believe you're saying that. Awesome. There you go. Oh, the commitments. That's right. That is one. Yeah, we'll see. I don't think I've got that. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, we'll see. I'm a Scot. I'm not an Irishman. I'm a Scot. And so you gotta understand. I'm a Scot. I'm not an Irishman. Okay? That should be all I have to say. Because us white folk, we like to make lines between what island my white folk came from and what island your white folk came from. Even though we're both so white, you can see through us. There you have it. The Snapper, I don't even know what that is. And Waking Ned Devine, I wanted to see that movie. I'm writing that down. I do remember wanting to see that movie. So there you have it, Rabbit. And so, shock, my white folks were on the one island and then moved to the other island on our way here. So you're everything. Exactly. Actually, you know, the funny thing is if I did my little blood test, and as Scottish as I am, don't tell anybody, but I have a lot of Irish in me too. But my grandpa was so Scottish that he hated the Irish, so I don't know what to tell you. And your white folks always live on the islands off the African coast. Off islands off the African coast. Oh, that's Portugal? There you go. And let's see here. Terry, you could scream Ride Like a Girl again now. No, Terry, I have to go out and about afterwards, and then I have to do work. So that is sweet, but not tonight. No, cannot. And let's see here. The Snapper has Cole Meany of Star Trek fame. Is about a teenager who winds up in a family way. Could you even be more Irish in explaining that? That is hysterical. Oh, Madeira. Okay, all right. Well, Madeira, that belongs to Portugal, doesn't it? Portugal, doesn't it? I mean, I'm pretty sure that belongs to Portugal. So, all right. We've got 2-minute overtime and another 2-minute overtime. We've got double overtimes. You guys, we're so bad. Okay. Who knows what we're going to watch on Saturday? Who knows? We'll figure it out. Hopefully we'll see each other on Tuesday at Andy Boomatai's show. But if we don't, Wednesday, 5 p.m. West Coast time. Hopefully by Wednesday, we'll all figure out what time it is. There you go. Thank you, Gina. Don't anybody tell. Don't anybody tell that I'm mostly Irish according to my blood. Shh. All right, y'all. Have a great one. It's been silly. It's been fun. We will do this again sometime soon. Thank you so much for the biddies, the subs, the resubs, the gift subs. And most of all, thank you, mods, and thank you all here for just being here, because can't have a stream to chat with unless there's folks to chat with. All right.